It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do, you do. From the Dixie Line Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, coming off a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton in studio, along with my co-host, the venerable John Riley, with his opinions broadcasting from left field. And we welcome you to our Monday podcast. This podcast brought to you by Dixie Line Lumber and Home Center. 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You've got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can be your consultant and your best friend. Dixie Line Lumber. Just go to DIXIELINE.com to find out all the things they have to offer to you. John, watched a lot of TV, a lot of sports this weekend. We do have a lot of opinions because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, well, the big event up in Northern Ireland, baseball is back. We're getting NFL training camps going. It's a good time to be alive.
We're going a lot of different directions on this show. Couple of business items. Number one, we do sports talk on this podcast the way sports talk should be done. A lot of topics on the table. When we're done with the hot topics on the table, we turn it over to you, the fans. That's why you need to join us when we're done in what we call the Fans Forum chat box. How does it work?
The Fans Forum chat box is your chance to get involved. Ask this man, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, whatever you want in the world of sports, including the topics that are on the table today. So if you're interested, just type your question, your comment in the live chat on YouTube, X, or Facebook, and we'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
I write about sports every day of the week. In addition to doing this podcast, I have a sports website that is a knockout, an absolute ton of information every day. You can get it absolutely free. It's there on the internet for you first thing every morning. Just go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You get the best 15 minutes in sports. You get my one man's opinion columns. You get the chance to take part in our mini polls. Also, when you go to my website, there's an orange box on the homepage. I invite you to join us in what we call Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You get on my email list. You get 2 emails per day, a lot of data nobody else gets. Also, want you on social media with me. Join my Twitter All-Star team on X. Just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button. Or go to Hacksaw 1090. Hit the follow button. You'll take part in all the things that I post on Twitter, on social media. Want you to share, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 Pacific. Subscribe. When you subscribe to the YouTube channel and the other platforms, you get alerts every time we put something else up on the YouTube channel, and we do that a lot of different days over the course of the week. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us in terms of credibility with the fans. I cover it all?
Yeah. Well, by the way, the likes and all and the follows are all good for the algorithm too. It's telling YouTube that the content is valuable, and they start presenting it on more feeds for other sports fans.
You are right. The content is bleeping brilliant.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, we had a lot of topics on the table. We're going a lot of different directions. We do want you to be part of this, so get ready to jump into the Fans Forum. If we hit a nerve, you got an opinion about something we're talking about today, or if there's something we talked about in prior podcast didn't get the chance to get through, dive into the Fans Forum chat box right now. John, where do you want to start?
The British Open, and boy, was that something. I mean, Scottie Scheffler was just the master of the universe.
Hey, mate, that was pretty good golf, wasn't it? Hey, mate, is this guy equal to Tiger Woods? Because that's all anybody globally is talking about. Scottie Scheffler just put together a dazzling 4 days at the British Open. He beat the 156-man field. He beat the weatherman. He beat the Royal Course. He beat the pothole bunkers. He beat the 5 feet deep rough. He beat the swales. He built the tilted greens. He beat the wind off the Irish Sea. I mean, it was a tremendous performance. You know, on Friday, he had 8 birdies. On Saturday, when the weather was rugged, he had an eagle and a birdie. And then on Sunday, he just roared and built a 7-stroke lead, and they just never, ever caught him. Get this. He went 32 straight holes without a bogey. And this is on the bleeping British Open golf course, which is the next to impossible. 32 holes without a bogey, and over a 62-hole window, he had one bogey and one double bogey. And as one of the players said last night after the conclusion of the final round in Ireland, when you saw his name at the top of the leaderboard, your heart goes away because you know you're not going to catch him because he does not make mistakes. So he's got 4 Grand Slam wins. He's got 20 wins already in his career, and he's only 28 years of age. Now, it's still a far cry from Tiger. Tiger had 15 Grand Slams. Tiger had 85 career victories. These guys are so polar opposite in the way they play golf. Steady as she goes. There's no emotional high. There's no emotional low. There's no tantrums. There's no expression of emotion with Scottie Scheffler. Tiger was relentless. Tiger was a pusher. Tiger was attack mode all the time. And Tiger's lifestyle was so radically different than Scottie Scheffler. Tiger was all about the salesmanship and money and the flair and his women. Scottie Scheffler, the ideal picture of Scottie Scheffler was on the 18th green after it was over. And he had his wife, his baby, and the claret jug. And he was ready to go home to Texas because that's who he is. They are so polar opposite in terms of style on the course and in terms of personality and the way they do business. Scheffler's really become a champion. And, we've had some really great golfers of late, aside from Tiger. Phil Mickelson was the fans' man. Phil Mickelson would look at the fans and shake his head and said, I'm such an idiot when he hit one that go off course and go into the tent. And Rory McIlroy is just a grinder. Scheffler is so different in his approach. Stability. There's a comfort zone around him. Laser focused. He's just a really different guy. I just thought it was just a phenomenal tournament. One of the golfers said, when Scheffler gets into his game, it's like he goes into blackout mode. You can't communicate with him. All he is focused on is where he's hitting the ball, what is next, and there's no tantrums. There's no conversation with anybody aside from his caddy, and that's limited conversation. And one of the other golfers, aside from the one that said, you look at the top of the leaderboard, takes your heart away, and aside from the one said that he's always in blackout mode, another golfer said, the only words that golfers look when they're on the course, look at that leaderboard, and they see where Scheffler is bloody hell. That's an old Irish term. My God, bloody hell. So he's great. He's absolutely phenomenal. And so he's got 4 Grand Slams, 20 victories already in his pocket under the age of 28. I just love watching it. And of course, I love everything, the panorama, the skyline shots, the course shots. I mean, links golf is so different than anything we experience here in the U.S. It's surely not the Masters and the beauty of the azaleas and the magnolias and all that at Augusta. And it's obviously not the U.S. Open, which is an obstacle course, not a golf course. But there is just a different feel about everything as it relates to the British Open. Mate, we should go have a pint and toast Scottie Scheffler. I had a lot of fun watching it in different chunks of time. And John Riley says,
Scottie was giving it all she's got, man. Beam me up, Scottie. It's cool to see a dominant player or a dominant team in a sport just kick ass and take care of business. And you got to appreciate that with him. And to your point, yeah, you see him at the top of the leaderboard. He's ahead by 4 or 5 strokes. You're figuring game over, let's pack it up and go.
They were on the 3rd hole yesterday on Sunday. 3rd hole in the final round. He was 7 shots up.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
It's over.
Yeah, it is. And he had that huge surge on Friday. He really rose up to the top. So you got to give it up to the guy. But it is interesting how, the Live Golf has, poached all the really high-end golfers out of PGA, but Scheffler just sticks with PGA. I wonder why he's never made the leap over.
Well, he's only gotten hot within the last year and a half where he's gotten dominant. And I think also we've seen those guys who went to LIV have disappeared off the radar.
Totally.
Nobody knows where the tournaments are. Nobody's going to the tournaments. Even their own people like Bryson DeChambeau said that LIV is now really behind the curve of where they thought they would be in terms of development and evolvement. And most of the guys aren't playing really well on the PGA Tour when they come play in the major events that they're still qualified for. So Scheffler boy, he's different. So you're a golf fan. You enjoy it. Fans Forum chat box is open. It's a little too early to say he's going to be as great as Tiger because Tiger was great. But boy, respect the golfer and respect the person that the golfer represents. Okay, we go from that. Next topic on the table. Hold on to the table, John, because I've got some opinions here. We're going to flip and we're going to talk college football.
Yeah, San Diego State Aztecs lost the community? What are you saying, Lee?
Okay, let's talk about where they are. Football camp will be opening within a week for them. San Diego State has lost the community. Their season ticket count at the shiny new stadium has gone from 19,973 to 5,953. Think about that erosion. That's like 66% of the season ticket holders who bought into the excitement of Aztec football, Snapdragon Stadium, have walked away from it. How do you rally back? I'll ask this, because the fun term right now is Aztec for life. Would you please tell me where the fans and the alumni, the quote Aztecs for life are? Because they're not supporting San Diego State football. Sean Lewis has been there 1 year. It was a miserable 3-9 football season. Some of this is fueled by the revelation that he just finally signed his 5-year contract that's going to pay him $1.8 million this season, elevates it up to $2.3 million. There are buyouts. If he gets fired, he's going to get 75% of the contract. If he wants to leave, he's got to pay a chunk of money to get out of the contract. There's a whole bunch of upper-level management things, though. This whole San Diego State football move into Snapdragon, to me, has been totally mismanaged. Bad timing, the arrival of the NIL, the transfer portal taking over the sport. The athletic department, I think, has made terrible mistakes in terms of pricing what Aztec football might be worth in terms of tickets. People bought into the shiny new stadium year one, and they've walked away forever, and they're not coming back because the ticket prices and the parking prices and the food prices are way too high. Having won, last year was miserable. Such expectation, and I'll plead guilty because I thought Sean Lewis had hit the floor running with his recruiting contacts. The player turnover is ungodly. They've had 9 different quarterbacks now in the 2 years that Sean Lewis will be head coach. They've had 1 year, 49 new players came in last year when Lewis came on. There's 55 new players via the transfer portal and recruiting that are showing up this coming season. And the next person that I meet that talks about them being excited about the Aztecs going into the rebuilt Pac-12, the next person I meet that makes that statement will be the first person I've met. I don't know anybody that thinks this is special. It's like Mountain West 2.0. How do you market this? And San Diego State hasn't helped themselves. Get this, their Division I program, San Diego State has not scheduled a football media day. They're not bringing their players in. They're not bringing their new quarterbacks in. The coach is not being made available to the media during this stretch of time just before they launch preseason workouts. And to me, that's absurd. The Padres are on a 10-game road trip. You have the whole market to yourself this week into early next week where you could spend an hour and you'd get all the TV stations and what's left of sports talk radio to come participate because there's nothing else out there to cover. And here's the shocker. Aside from the erosion of the season ticket base, Sean Lewis is 3-9. There's no energy in the community. There's absolutely no support within the community. And it wasn't that long ago that Brady Hoke and Rocky Long were combined 106-48. And look where we are today. So I asked, how do you rally this community back? What does San Diego State do? Because right now they are so far behind the power curve, especially in community support. You know, the last 2 home games, they had just a shade over 10,000 walk into the stadium. 10,000. In a Division I program that they'd hoped would fill the Snapdragon every home game at 32,000. They've lost the community. Mistakes, bad football, obviously the change into the landscape, transfer portal, NIL, new coach, etc. Sean Lewis, he's not in trouble as a head coach, but he can't be 3-9 this coming season again. But the bigger picture, John, how do you rally back? Where are all these people that say, Aztec for life? John, the podium is yours.
Okay, here you go with your negative Nelly stuff again. Okay, the facts that you shared, the record, the season tickets, all of those facts are true. But we don't necessarily have to have a negative spin on every single one of those. And by the way, 2 other facts that you didn't have on your list was COVID was in the middle of this whole thing leading up to the stadium opening.
It's 5 years back, though.
But still, it was all part of Aztec fan was sort of disconnected from the program. The team was playing up in Carson and they were still winning, but it felt like not really a San Diego team then. And then COVID hit. So the circumstances have been horrible timing. It's like a perfect storm of things that are cooking here that aren't necessarily Sean Lewis's fault. Okay. So I think from my perspective, we know what the Aztec basketball program is. If the team wins, there's going to be excitement. Is it going to be, like Ohio State football? No, but I think it can be, a solid part of the mix. There's no reason why they can't get at least the number of fans in the stadium that San Diego FC gets and the same kind of energy that San Diego FC gets, probably more than that. They should. But if the coach is able to get a winning record, then I think we'll start to see a shift. But yeah, we've had the exodus of players. That's all part of the transfer portal. That's happening everywhere. It's just a tricky time, man. It's just hard. But what's interesting is in your best 15, you said today that he just signed his contract. He didn't sign the contract a year ago when he got hired?
They had a memorandum of understanding, but there were clauses there that they were still negotiating because he gets paid by the athletic department, but he also gets paid by the research foundation. And they had to negotiate. There was a clause in the contract. If they change conferences, how does that impact his bonus clauses? And if they change conferences, what's the lump sum he can get to use to hire assistant coaches? So there are a whole bunch of things that had to be negotiated because its transition to the rebuilt Pac-12 was taking place.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, he's got 4 more years left on this contract. He just can't go 3-9. But you think about the emotion right now in the community, it's at 0 compared to Brady Hoke, Rocky Long, where they were combined 106-48.
Well, if the interest in the community is 0, which I tend to agree with you, why in the hell are they not having a media day and getting, TV stations, newspaper, talk show, podcasters, even anything? It's like free publicity for the program.
I don't understand their whole rationale. I think they've made so many mistakes. Unless, and I have a hard time buying this, but there are other people, unless the other people say they don't care about football because they're a basketball school.
That's crap.
I think that's a reach.
Yeah.
That's where we are. I'm looking for an Aztec for life. Please go into the Fans Forum chat box. Take over your segment of this podcast and explain what's wrong at San Diego State. Write us now. Get in line so we can get you on. We got NFL football to talk about, and all the teams are pouring in this week. We got news and notes everywhere, John.
Okay, well, start with the Chargers, questions and answers.
Yeah, let's start with the Bolts. The Chargers in pads today for the first time. Rashawn Slater, Pro Bowl left tackle, not practicing. Rashawn Slater's got a year left on his contract. Now, he's gone through all the OTAs. He was on the field, not in pads today. I would seriously doubt he will play in the Hall of Fame game against Detroit. There's an injury factor there. Obviously, they are continuing to have dialogue to get a contract extension done to Rashawn Slater. There are a lot of moving parts in the offensive line. They're experimenting with Zion Johnson at center. They've yet to make that final decision. Mekhi Becton missed 3 practices. He, of course, is the right guard they got from the Eagles, but he had gone to Philadelphia for a Super Bowl ring ceremony. He is back. He was back on the practice field today. Oronde Gadsden, wide receiver hyphen tight end, has been the most impressive of the kids. Trey Harris, the kid out of Ole Miss, just signed his contract. Very impressive. in the limited workouts so far. Burning question, what will life be like after Joey Bosa? He is now in Buffalo. The bigger question to me, do they have any defensive tackles that can hold up and play? They got 5 kids they brought in at defensive tackle because they did not want to pay Morgan Fox and Poona Ford big pay hikes after the good seasons those guys had. Love the linebacker group, love the secondary group, but they got issues. If you can't stop the run defensively up front, and there was no Poona Ford, there was no Morgan Fox, and Bosa, as banged up as Bosa was still a productive linebacker on the other side of Khalil Mack. The burning question, do they have enough on the defensive side? I think the offense is really going to be fun to watch. Najee Harris probably won't play in preseason, the eye injury, but he will be ready for opening day. So there's work to be done by Jim Harbaugh, I think, notably on the defensive side. Awful lot of coverage is about your offense and Mike Williams' retirement and Quentin Johnston and all that. I do think they got a lot of names they're going to run through there and try to find the right guys. I don't know that they got enough guys at the key positions up front defensively. John, show me your lightning bolt.
Show me your lightning bolt. It's interesting with every NFL team's going to have question marks at this point, right? Sure. Going into camp, but you'd hope that, they find a few gems later on in the draft, 4th, 5th, 6th round guys that
they did last year.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of need some surprises, that are going to help fill some of those gaps. And by the way, what's your take on this whole shuffling of the deck, the offensive line? Do you think they're going to have a better solution this year than they had last year?
Well, Brad Bozeman was the center, and he was the lowest rated offensive center in terms of pass blocking. Zion Johnson did not have as good year last year at guard. Johnson is an athlete. He's a smart guy. He's younger. So Johnson is getting a lot of looks at center. Bozeman has been flipped to left guard. They also have Trey Pipkins, who couldn't handle it at tackle. He's been flipped over to left side. He might be a left guard too. So they're going through a lot of different guys. I would think opening day, if there's no injuries, I would think Zion Johnson's going to be the center. They need to be able to run block better, and they obviously got to protect Justin Herbert better. I think Zion Johnson's probably a better center than Bozeman. Maybe Bozeman, who's played center, played guard. Maybe Bozeman will hold up better at guard. Time will only tell.
Interesting. We're going to find out a lot about this team. And when's the Hall of Fame game? That's coming soon.
Week Thursday.
Really? Okay, so a week and a half away. We're playing football
in Canton, Ohio, on a Thursday night game against the Detroit Lions.
And then they're going to induct Antonio Gates, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So that's cool. So that's all things Chargers. You got an opinion? Feel free. Jump on board. We'll talk Bolt football. We go from that to the bigger picture around the NFL, John.
Yeah, the bigger picture. And check this out. The union off-field troubles are starting with the Players Association.
Lloyd Howell removed, forced out. They won't say fired, but everybody is of the opinion he was terminated. He was the executive director of the Players Association. The deeper the media has dug into the story, the more dirt they've found out about Lloyd Howell. To me, the biggest issue is there was a charge of collusion that an arbitrator evaluated, and he provided information that he felt Roger Goodell told the management council, and the management council told the owners, do not give players, notably quarterbacks, guaranteed contracts. This is after Cleveland guaranteed the $230 million deal for Deshaun Watson. That information filtered down and got back to the players. A grievance was filed. The arbitrator said it looks like there's evidence that there was collusion. Lloyd Howell was at that meeting when the arbitrator handed over the 61-page decision. Lloyd Howell did not inform the 32 player reps, his executive committee, that this is what the arbitrator has indicated happened. He made a confidential agreement with Roger Goodell. They would protect the information and lock it away. How do you represent all these players and you don't inform your executive committee, a player rep from every team, what's gone on in that meeting? That's item one. Second item was misappropriation of union funds. Him and other people going to strip clubs and taking airline flights and charging the union that. There was a whole bunch of
clubs.
Hamburgers are always good there, though. That's what you told me at one time.
Yeah.
Really seedy stuff. Now we found out this morning the guy that headed up the search committee that hired Lloyd Howell, former player J.C. Treader, He was forced out in the early hours this morning. He's an accomplice to Lloyd Howe. How did he not know about all the background junk that Howe was involved in, conflict of interest and some other stuff in other industries? So this turns out to be a bad look for the union and its leadership as they're going into collective bargaining with NFL ownership. So this story is far from over. So we got that. We're waiting for the NFL to drop the hammer, and they should, on a Kansas City Chiefs player and Minnesota Vikings player. Rashee Rice plea bargained out of 8 felonies in a drag racing incident that caused wrecks and injured 8 people. Rashee Rice plea bargained it down. All he got out of it was a 30-day jail sentence. I thought that was a crap plea bargain. He deserved to serve significant time in jail because he and a friend of his drag racing ran into 3 other cars in a Dallas freeway a year ago, injured a whole bunch of people, and left the scene of the accident while people were lying on the pavement injured. To me, that's hideous. Well, now the NFL can take discipline because the case is run the judicious process. I would hope Rice gets a 4-game suspension because this was a real serious set of circumstances. The other one is Minnesota wide receiver Jordan Addison. He's a kid from USC. A year ago, he was arrested for doing 140 miles an hour on a highway outside Minnesota, right around training camp. Nothing ever happened. League never took any discipline action. Then he got arrested this offseason on a DUI case. He's plea bargained down the DUI case, paid a fine, etc. The league needs to crack on this guy. Whether it's a 1-game suspension, 2-game suspension, he needs to be disciplined. The third one, third row down, Washington Commanders. Your president. He doesn't have enough trouble that he's created. Now he's stepped across the street into the National Football League, and Trump is mandating the owner of the Washington Commanders, Josh Harris, change the name of the team immediately and change the logo back to the Washington Redskins. And Trump, in typical Trump fashion, is threatening everything. Now he's threatening to block all federal money and Washington, D.C. money, which has already been agreed upon to build a new stadium for the NFL franchise. Trump should just write another executive order. It'd be out of the norm, like all the other executive orders out of the norm that he's violated the Constitution on. Anyhow, so Trump's in the Washington Commanders doghouse. Cincinnati. I've heard a lot of stupid things. What happened this morning in Cincinnati is beyond stupid. Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, he's in contract disputes with his unsigned number 1 draft pick and with a star defensive end. The big issue with the draft pick out of Texas A&M is Mike Brown has tried to change the language in the rookie contract about contract guarantees. Rookie contract is if you don't play well your first year, if you get cut, nobody cuts number 1 picks after the first year. But if you get cut, you get a chunk of the guarantees that are in the second year, third year, fourth year. Mike Brown wants all that wiped out. So Mike Brown at a press conference today, it's the only time he's spoken, Mike Brown says, well, we're putting these clauses into our new contracts with all the rookies in case some of them get sent to prison. We don't want to be on the hook for all their contracts if they're sent to prison. Oh, God. You've got to be kidding me. If the guy's in trouble with the law, he goes on the commissioner's exempt list, he can lose his contract. If he goes to prison, his contract's terminated. Just ask Henry Rugg, the Raider wide receiver that was involved in a drunk driving homicide, who's still in prison, lost his career, lost all of his bonus money, etc. What is Mike Brown talking about? And then Mike Brown reiterates about the contract dispute with Trey Hendrickson. Hendrickson's got 1 year left on his contract. He's grossly underpaid. And Mike Brown says he should be happy he owes us a year. He owes us a year because he's getting paid $15 million. The guy on the market is probably worth $25 million or $30 million because that's what all the other elite pass rushers led by T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett are getting. And Mike Brown is saying you should be happy. Now the report over the weekend is the Bengals made Trey Hendrickson a new offer, a 1-year extension. Well, everybody else is getting 4 years and getting 30 to 40 million per because they're a superstar. The Bengals are trying to get this guy to play for $15 million and then make him a 1-year additional offer and just bump it up one time to $20 million. If I'm Trey Hendrickson, there's no solution to the situation because Mike Brown is perennially cheap. Trey Hendrickson says, you want to end this holdout? You put a new clause in my contract. I am a free agent at the end of the year, and you cannot franchise tag me because I don't want to be here any longer.
Wow.
That's how you fight fire with fire. I heard a lot of stupid things Mike Brown say. My number one draft pick, if he goes to prison, I don't want to be in the hook for the bonus. My God. So that's the latest from the Bengals. We'll also talk just briefly about some other things. Cleveland Browns, one of their draft picks, and they expected a lot out of this kid. Running back Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State, second-round pick, told not to come to camp. He's under investigation. Charges, domestic abuse, strangling and beating his girlfriend.
Oh, God.
Browns have not signed him to a contract. Browns have now told him, you're not welcome in this camp at this point in time. And Tennessee Titans, they have lost Will Levis, their quarterback. I don't know why he was not operated on right at the end of the season. He had shoulder problems all last year. They determined this morning, surgery, gone for the year. Eisen played real well. He's got 21 touchdowns in a year and a half as a starter with the Tennessee Titans. He's got 17 interceptions. He's got 17 lost fumbles in a year and a half. They did draft Cam Ward. Cam Ward, the job is yours. And one other note, Von Miller has a new mailing address. Guy's got 129 quarterback sacks. Von Miller, ex-Denver Bronco, former Buffalo Bill, signs with the Washington Commanders. One-year deal. 10 to 12 million if he has a banner season. Pretty good one-year rental. Got a lot of miles on him. Had some injury problems, but they still think gas left in the tank. Like I said, we're into NFL training camps. This is going to be the headquarters for you to get all your NFL information, good, bad, and ugly. John, what's the responsibility head of the Players Association? You want to talk about your president? Go ahead and talk about any of the other names we talked about.
Well, those are the two stories I wanted to comment on. Okay, let's just start with the juicy one with Trump and the Redskins name and everything else. Okay, first of all, get the friggin' government out of football. I mean, it's just deregulate the NFL here. This is nonsense. What this is just, I mean, Trump really doesn't care about what the NFL team name is. He's just pushing buttons to fire up his base and to create more distractions so we're not focused on all this Epstein stuff and everything else. And so this is all smoke screens and everything else. But really, I mean, the Redskin name, I mean, come on. I mean, even if the nations like the name, come on, this is supposed to be, content of character over color of skin, and so, and again, this is just such a nonsense BS shiny object story meant to distract. But anyways, going back to the Players Association, and we're talking about the collusion, it was the Arizona owner or the LA owner. We're talking.
Spanos and Bidwell congratulated each other about the Kyler Murray contract. There's so much smoking gun paper evidence about collusion. This is going to wind up. There's going to be a refiling by the union. And all I know is that when baseball had collusion in the Jack Morris Detroit Tiger case, it cost baseball's owners $220 million in damages. There's 594 players that were involved on the citation that we think there's collusion going on. And now the arbitrator said, yeah, Goodell told the management council to tell Spanos and Bidwell and every other owner, do not give out guaranteed contracts. And then we find out that Spanos compared contractual notes when Bidwell re-signed his quarterback without the guarantee. That I didn't go to law school. I know you did. That sounds like collusion to me.
But it's only two owners. I mean, there's 32 teams, right? So if you're saying all 32 owners had this secret handshake agreement and they're in a back room with cigars twirling their mustache and figuring out how to get this, collusion down, you got a point. But even if, let's just say hypothetically, half the teams had kind of had this wink agreement on keeping salaries down, that gives the other half of the teams a huge advantage.
But when nobody signs anybing,
but that's not happening in the NFL. Well, it's happening to Trey Hendrickson because the Bengals are just idiots. But you were seeing gigantic contracts being handed out in the NFL.
But it's not all guaranteed.
Well,
none of the quarterbacks got guarantees.
Yeah, but think about that. Seriously, think about guaranteed deals. That is a sweet, sweet thing.
Sure.
I mean, baseball's got it because the baseball owners or the baseball union is so damn powerful. But, you know, it sounds harsh, but if you sign a guy to like a 6-year contract, he gets hurt year 1 and his career's over, you shouldn't be on the hook to have to pay him for the remaining 5 years. I mean, obviously there should be some compensation, you know, for being injured and his career being done, but it's almost like the contract shouldn't apply.
But you can't collude. Article 17 of the collective bargaining agreement. You cannot share information team to team, contract to contract, and you can't collude to hold the prices down.
But the players collude amongst themselves. The agents collude amongst themselves. They can compare notes and compare how much they're being offered, but the owners can't. It's a double standard.
You're big on capitalism. Now you're big on collusion.
I want a free market. I want to let these guys negotiate. And like I said, if a few of those idiots, I mean, Spanos and Bidwell are idiots. Okay. And if they're the ones colluding, they're the ones that are going to continue to screw over their franchise. Let the other owners, you know, the smart ones, go get the good talent and be willing to pay for it.
Okay. You want to talk about any of the other topics, or have you spent all your venom? You want to talk about Kansas City and the Minnesota receivers? What should happen with the NFL with those characters?
You know, I mean, you just think of young guys, they're king of the world. You know, they got this big contract. They go out and buy a fast car and they're out with their buddies.
2 Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
That's what they were racing, and they crashed into 3 other cars and then walked away from the people who got hurt, who were laying on the pavement.
Yeah. I mean, that's clearly wrong, you know, especially hit and run or some version of that. Yeah. But it's just, you can understand. Now, I'm not condoning it, but you can see how it happens, you know, with kids that maybe never had money that suddenly do, and they're kind of just being dumb, 22-year-olds or 21-year-olds. I mean, it's awful. But the NFL rightfully should crack down on this because, and I assume there's some kind of a clause that's standard boilerplate for all players. But if you're in trouble with the law, you know, or if you're in jail, I mean, the NFL doesn't want to be representing players like that. I mean, in any private company, if one of the employees is thrown in jail, they're not still getting paid.
Well, we'll wait to see if they drop the hammer on these guys. Sorry to be the bearer of all this controversial news, but it's out there. We got to cover it. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to give you the chance to respond. Any and all, feel free. Fans Forum chat box is open for business. When we come back, it's halftime. Podcast brought to you by Dixie Line Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you. When we come back, we're going to talk baseball. Here comes the baseball trading deadline. But John, let's talk about Dixie Line. Let's talk about where they are in this community, what they represent, and what they offer to you, me, and every homeowner out there.
You know, we talk about a lot of different things about Dixie Line. You know, the history in San Diego over 100 years, their drive-through lumber yards, which are really cool. You know, those big box orange and blue stores don't have drive-through lumber yards. But one of the cool things they do is, like, if you wanted to do a kitchen remodel, or if you wanted to do a bathroom remodel, or maybe you just wanted to buy a whole bunch of concrete to build a patio in your backyard, they have financing options there. So they'll help you get, you know, really attractive payments, low interest rates. And so, you know, when you're doing a home improvement project, you need financing. And sometimes it's hard to get it, but the Dixie Line folks will help you out with that as well.
And ideas and materials. And the cool thing I had never understood till you told me was the showroom in Solana Beach. Just explain that real quick.
Yeah, that's the design studio. And so the design studio is adjacent to the Solana Beach Home Center and Lumberyard. And it's like a interior design, you know, boutique kind of a showcase store where you'll see bathroom fixtures, kitchen appliances, countertops, cabinets. You know, they have like all the custom doors and windows. There's a lot of great things there. They're really for a lot of high-end homes. They're on the coastal area.
Dixie Line Lumber. Just go to DixieLine.com. You got needs, you're looking for ideas. They'll introduce themselves to you through that website. Then go visit one of the stores. 9 locations to serve you in San Diego, and the new one up at Dana Point in Orange County, Dixie Line Lumber. Program note when we're done with this podcast, because we do put topics on the table as witnessed by the firestorm first half we just had. When we're done with this, you take over the podcast. It's called Fans Forum, a chat box that gives you the opportunity to ask a question, make a statement, like, dislike, whatever. John, how does Fans Forum work for all the new people with us on live stream?
Yeah, we need more new people. There's a few new folks in here, but there's a lot of comments here about Trump and the Redskins, about the charging, about the Aztecs, about Scottie Scheffler and Manny Machado or Freddie Freeman, even Sports Talk Radio are all going to be great topics when we get to Fans Forum. So it's your chance to get involved. Type your question or comment in the live chat on YouTube, X, or Facebook.
Just a couple of reminders. I write on sports every day of the week. If you have not checked my written website, you're really missing something. Guarantee you when you read it, you'll say, I got to check this thing every morning. And it's there first thing every morning. Just go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com to check out my website. Want you to join me on my social media team, Hacksaw's Twitter All-Star team. Just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button. Then you'll get the alerts every time I put something up on Twitter, which is quite often. We want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 on this podcast. Subscribe. When you subscribe, you will get the alerts every time we put something up on the YouTube channel. And, of course, when you're on Hacksaw's Insiders Group, and you can do that by registering on my website. When you're on the Insiders Group, you get a couple of emails every day of the week. So we provide a wide variety of things on social media. And, of course, we're here Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Baseball. It's time to talk baseball. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, baseball. Okay, let's start here with the Padres. I mean, they're going to be under the gun here. Decision day, big need.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Padres are continuing this 10-game road trip into the heat and humidity of Miami, and then they go to St. Louis. They're climbing back into the playoff race. Padres have a tough decision to make. Baseball sources have told me that Padre ownership has told him, A.J. Preller, you can't take on more contracts. The only way you can make a transaction is if you move a contract so you can take on a contract. That is not quite what we had hoped to hear after all these sellouts, but payroll is at $211 million. Right now, they owe about $4 to $5 million in a luxury tax payment already. If they were to take on more contracts, it would push them into a different level and the penalties get more severe. So the burning question is, do they need a hitting catcher? Do they have enough in left field? Are you satisfied with where they are on the health issues as it relates to the pitchers? And then the second question, who do you trade? If you're going to make a transaction, and if you're going to subscribe to either what Seidler or Eric Grupner told Preller that the payroll can't go up, who are you going to trade? Are you going to trade Robert Suarez, who's a walk free agent, can escape at the end of the season? Would you trade Cronenworth? Who are you going to move if you got to move a salary to take on a different type player and a different type salary? There's virtually nothing at AAA. There are pitchers, younger pitchers, most of them at Class A. You're not going to trade DeVries, the shortstop. They have now lost Ethan Salas for the entire season. He has now been ruled out. Not that he's re-injured the back, the stress fracture in the back. He's been in Arizona since April. He's just not doing baseball-related things, so the clock has run out on Ethan Salas. So what does AJ do with a payroll of $211, the fact that they owe almost $5 million and a luxury tax bill already, and if they're going to move, I can't see somebody giving you a player in the pennant race for somebody that's a Class A pitcher yet. Do you want to move anybody at Class A? So you tell me, what does Preller do, John?
He's in a tough spot right now, and it's, if you're going to make a deal, maybe there's a way you can kind of trade bad contracts, and I know like Luis Robert is a guy that's underperformed, but that guy comes with a big, salary attached to it, right?
$15 million for the next 2+ years.
Yeah. And so,
He's hitting 190.
Yeah. So, I mean, to your point, if you traded Cronenworth, it creates another hole somewhere else. But I'll tell you what, that Jose Iglesias does give them quite a bit of flexibility in the infield. And so, you're not going to trade Machado. You're not going to trade Bogarts, although you'd love to trade Bogarts. But you could trade one of the three guys on the right side of the infield, which would be a Rise, Cronenworth, or Iglesias, so you want to, have two of those. Maybe the third one is the one that you deal.
Yeah, but the third one, the utility guy's not going to bring you very much in return. And why are you going to trade a Rise? He's a cornerstone to your batting order. Why would you do that? You're creating another hole.
Yeah, again, it is a shell game here. I mean, you said Ethan Salas is hurt, right? He's
gone for the year now.
Now gone for the year.
Yes.
So he can't trade him. And DeVries is like gold, right? Yes. So, I don't know. I'll tell you what, if the pitchers are healthy, and Darvish becomes what Darvish is supposed to be, and he seems like he's on track, Michael King comes back and is what he's supposed to be, I am not worried about the pitching at all. And all we need now is just the hitters to perform up to their historical levels. Cronenworth seems like he's come back.
And Sanders is hitting really well.
Yeah, really well. So there you have got to look at, okay, we need Tatis to be Tatis. We need Merrill to rise back up to last year's level or something close to it. And then you just need something out of left field in the catcher position. Bryce Johnson showed us a little bit, on Sunday.
Utility man, please.
He is a utility man, but you're going to need to find a surprise utility man that's going to be able to grab this opportunity by the throat and run with it.
Would you trade Cease?
Well, if let's just say hypothetically Cease wasn't involved, you would still have a starting rotation of Darvish, King potentially, and then you still got Pivetta, who's hella good right now.
10-2 good.
Yeah, and Vasquez has been surprising. Bergert has not been bad. I mean, you could get away with trading Cease.
That would probably bring you something of competence, even though Cease going somewhere else would be a part-time rental for whoever got him.
Well, yeah, because he's a free agent at the end of the year.
Exactly.
I don't think you can trade Suarez, though. I mean, I don't know if you'd get full value back for him because he's still kind of iffy. But I know he's got like a 4-year deal, but I think every year he has an opt-out.
He's not iffy as a pitcher. He might be iffy from a contractual standpoint. Dude's got 28 saves.
Well, but you see him in the All-Star game.
So it's a crap outing.
Still, we've seen that in certain Padre games. When he doesn't have it, you're like, uh-oh, here we go. Just hang on tight. And every once in a while, he has one of those disaster games.
I think it's a bad message. It's a bad message to season ticket. If you trade Suarez, that's a really bad message.
But the good news is if you did trade Suarez, you got a lot of guys that could play that, do that ninth inning closer role.
Okay, I'm going to hold a timeout here because the longer you talk, the more upset you're going to make Padre fan with us on live stream. Okay, anybody got an opinion about what this guy said? He just said, if I read between the lines, he'd trade Suarez.
I'd consider it, yeah.
To get something in return, or he'd trade Cease to get something of quality in return, or he'd trade Arise.
Yes.
You've been out in the sun too long.
Arise, man, there's a lot of questions about his value because his WAR isn't very good. And he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So, all these guys we have emotional connections to because we love them. But you got to be a poker player and you got to be able to move these assets.
You need to do this because the more you talk, the bigger hole you're digging for yourself with your credibility with Padre Fan. Padre Fan, Fans Forum chat box is open. Feel free. Pile in right now. You can pile on him. We go from Padre baseball to Dodger baseball.
Yeah, here we go. Dodgers in crisis. I think they've only won 2 of their last 10.
2 of 12.
12.
They have lost 10 of their last 12. It's a worst skid in the Dave Roberts era. They have stopped hitting completely. And now they got 2 guys dinged up again. Dodgers got swept by the hottest team in baseball. The young Milwaukee Brewers walked into Chavez Ravine and beat them. Dodger fans who have a tradition of showing up late, leaving early, now have another tradition, booing. Man, they just let the Dodgers have it at the stadium in Chavez Ravine over the weekend. They've lost 10 of the last 12. Here's what they're saying about Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is hitting .205 since June 1st.
How weird.
That Mookie Betts has lost his speed with the bat. And Betts does not have any confidence right now at home plate. They've tried to make some mechanical adjustments. He's just not getting on balls at all. That's hard to believe.
Yes.
Freddie Freeman hitting .208, and Freeman got hurt yesterday at the end of the game, got plunked on the wrist. They feared he had a fracture. He's out with a severe bruise. They spent $107 million to build that Dodger bullpen. And right now, Tanner Scott, I think he's been overworked. He's got a 4.09 ERA. He's given up 8 home runs in like his last 12 appearances. You got Scott. You got Kirby Yates, who's not pitching well. There is no Evan Phillips. Michael Kopech's on the disabled list. Brusdar Graterol has not even pitched in a rehab assignment yet. Blake Trinan looks like he's about to be called back up. Blake Snell went 4 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, Oklahoma City. He looks like he might be 1 or 2 more rehab starts away if there's no setback. That Snell will be back. Trinan will be back. But they don't look like a complete and they're not hitting at all. In the Milwaukee series against all their kid pitchers, They hit 163. Dodgers are in huge trouble. So it takes us to the next question. Dodgers in crisis is, what is Andrew Friedman going to do? Try these names on for size. He's got to get a closer. That's a big issue. They might have to consider getting a third baseman because they don't know when Max Muncy's coming back and if Max Muncy can even come back and be what he was before he had this really severe knee sprain. They got a ton of kids at AAA and at AA that they could use as trade bait. They also have some guys up top. Would they trade Bobby Miller at AAA? Would they trade Emmett Sheehan at AAA, who's had some good starts with the Dodgers? Would they trade Dustin May, who's shown he can pitch? He might be the third or fourth guy in the rotation. You're going to have to give something if you want to make a deal for, say, Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
They got some young kids everybody's asking for. Dodgers historically have never traded their top prospects. Their top prospects are a young outfielder named Jesus DePaula at AA, is hitting 283. Zaire Hope, another outfielder, is hitting 286. Alex Freeland, a third baseman shortstop, is hitting in the 250s. Mike Sirota, a young outfielder, is hitting 353. And, of course, some of the kid pitchers at AAA. So Andrew Friedman's going to have to make a decision as to what they're going to do. And by the way, Ohtani's not hitting either. He's hitting 189 since July 1st.
Whoa.
You know, he spent so much time ramping up to pitch that what he's doing at home plate outside of the odd home run, he's not connecting at all. So, yeah, Dodgers are in crisis. I would have never thought 2 weeks ago today, they were 9 games up. That lead is now 3.5. So they're going in the wrong direction. So what did the Dodgers do?
Well, they do have a lot of surplus young pitching talent. I mean, we made that list early in the year. It's incredible. So there's a lot of things that they could trade, and they could trade a Dustin May or an Emmett Sheehan and someone that's pitching right now. But yeah, they got some problems. It's just weird. It's just like Mookie is usually just always great. Same with Freddie Freeman and then Ohtani. It's like it's unexplainable what's happening. Remember, we talked about this. The Dodgers were sliding a week or two ago. And I said, do you see any scenario that this team could implode upon itself? Well, since we had that conversation, they're worse off now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if Freddie Freeman hurt his wrist and he's gone for the year or something.
Well, it's not fractured, but who knows how long. Yeah, since we had that initial conversation, they lost Muncy, and Freeman, and now Mookie Betts isn't playing well at all, and Ohtani's not hitting.
Yeah, exactly. And then did you see the clips of Clayton Kershaw after his performance? He was interviewed in the clubhouse. He was pretty
pissed.
Yeah, he was.
He ended the interview and said, I can't talk about this anymore. But he's been real positive in terms of his contributions.
Well, you could tell that he was biting his tongue because I think there were a lot of things that happened in that game, like Andy Pages didn't round third and come home.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes.
And he can't say that. He can't throw his guys under the bus. So he kind of bit his tongue and said, I got to perform better. But you could tell that this utopian clubhouse in Los Angeles is got a lot of friction right now.
Yeah, they've hit a pothole. And Mookie Betts is not Mookie Betts.
No.
I mean, he got sick in the spring. He lost 20 pounds. He came back. He hit a little bit, and now he stopped hitting totally. And they say his bat speed's gone. And that's usually the first sign of advancing age. So that's all things Dodgers baseball. Feel free, if you have an opinion, Fans Forum chat box is open. Who would you trade? Because they're going to make a deal. I don't know whether the deal is for a third baseman or whether the deal is to go get somebody else's closer. Arenado at third base. Emmanuel Clase out of Cleveland is available. But you're going to have to give up something significant, a young player, to get one of those guys. Okay, that's all things baseball. This Monday bonus podcast continues. We're going to run through my basketball notebook.
And I can't wait to talk about this NBA or WNBA story.
Okay, let's start here. Lakers make another deal. The Lakers sign free agent guard Marcus Smart, former Sacramento King, former Memphis Grizzly, former Boston Celtic, good defensive specialist, can average double digits offensively. I think nice acquisition. They got him after a buyout from Washington. So the additions for the Lakers are Marcus Smart and DeAndre Ayton. That's it. I mean, they're capped. They have no more space to go get anybody. The Clippers this morning signed Chris Paul.
Really?
Chris Paul, San Antonio, Phoenix, amongst other places.
Yeah, does he have anything left?
He thinks so. Chris Paul averaged double digits off the bench last year for the San Antonio Spurs. This will be his final year, his 21st year in the league. That's absolutely amazing. So the signing of Chris Paul came on the heels of the acquisition of Brad Beal. So they got both veteran guards to go with Harden, and then obviously to go with the acquisition of Brook Lopez, the big man, who's kind of a clone of Ivica Zubac in the paint, and to go with the acquisition of the jumping jack forward, John Collins. And they got a lot of depth. Now, they have a lot of age, no doubt. That's a really old basketball team, but they're pushing to maybe be as good as anybody to challenge Oklahoma City in the NBA West. So the Clippers get CP3 to go with Brad Beal. That's a pretty interesting weekend of acquisitions. In Miami, we've been talking about the FBI probe of the Detroit Pistons player Malik Beasley betting. Now that thing has spread to Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. The FBI is investigating a heavy betting episode involving a game in New Orleans that Terry Rozier started. In a 46-minute span right before tip-off, 30 bets were made in a 46-minute span at one casino. Word had spread. Rozier is starting. Rozier goes out and plays horrible in the first 5 minutes and gets pulled. The people that made the 30 bets in that casino and a bunch of other bets, similar bets, about Rozier the first 5 minutes of the game, all won money in all these different casinos. That's a red flag. So Terry Rozier, Miami, has been dragged into that betting probe. Was he part of this? Inside information, etc. The last topic should have been quite an all-star festivity. WNBA All-Star Game. Caitlin Clark could not play because of injuries. The bigger issue, player revolt. Holy cow. Players are now threatening a walkout. They might not play games during the regular season because the collective bargaining talk with the union representing the women has hit a wall. And the players are of the opinion, we created this league. The success of this league is built on the backs of every one of these young players, not just Caitlin Clark, but everybody. We need a bigger cut of the pie, not 9% of the revenue. The women during warm-ups wore T-shirts that say pay us what you owe us. And then the fans started chanting during every time a player was introduced, the fans chanted, pay them, pay them. And it continued during the whole All-Star festivity. It was quite an embarrassment for the league. Caitlin Clark's got an issue. She's had 4 different injuries this year. She's re-injured her groin a second time. They don't know when she's going to be able to come back and play. She's 2 for 35 on threes in the last 3 weeks just because of these nagging injuries. So, John, we got the Lakers, we got the Clippers, we got the gambling in Miami now that's under investigation, and we got all things pay 'em. Women's basketball. Go ahead.
Well, you got to talk about the WNBA. This is the interesting story because when they came rolling out with those shirts during warmups, pay us what you owe us or whatever. And I saw another shirt that Caitlin Clark was wearing. I don't know if it was real or someone photoshopped it, but it says, I demand NBA money or something.
I think that was photoshopped.
Yeah, probably. And so, I get what they're saying. Hey, we only get 9% of the pie. That ain't right. And I get that. But if these teams are losing money hand over fist, come on. How much can you ask?
Well, they were, but then Caitlin Clark arrived 2 years ago. Record attendance, record revenue, record TV ratings. You don't expect them to go forward on another CBA with 9% of the revenue?
Okay, so now they like Caitlin Clark, because she's bringing in all the eyeballs. And yeah, you could make a case that these WNBA franchise valuations are going up. And so they have a lot more equity, and they could probably borrow some of that equity and parlay it into pay for them. I mean, generally speaking, I'm on their side to get what they feel they deserve. But the point I'm getting at is that there's only so much money to go around with the WNBA, and I think the NBA still subsidizes that league to a great degree, right?
Some,
yeah,
not 100% any longer. It's become a separate entity, business operation.
But, it's still, even though they're in year number 20 something, I think they started in the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. So it's still a young league, so it's not like NBA players made a ton of money in the 20th year of their, contract, or the 20th year of the NBA's existence. It's just going to take time. But did you see the clip of Kelsey Plum?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, well, Team Clark had nothing to do about this. The players voted. She wasn't there. And I'm like, why in the hell are you continuing to take shots at Caitlin Clark?
The year before Caitlin Clark got to Indiana, they averaged 1,200 fans per game.
Yeah.
They're averaging 17,000 fans per game, and they do that not only at home, when she takes the Indiana Fever on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, the impact is unbelievable. Players deserve a bigger cut of the pie.
Okay.
And negotiations have hit a wall, and now the players are saying, maybe we just won't show up and play a game. How do you think about that? I don't want to see them do that. That hurt the product, but everybody that I know in pro sports is siding with the women in this WNBA feud.
Yeah, I think there's some certain subtleties to this. I mean, if a team literally is losing money, you can't expect the owner to dig deeper in their pocket and pull money out.
But they're getting much bigger shares of revenue money.
Well,
now.
and right. So I think, you can make the argument that 9% is not enough. I get that. Are they going to get 50, or 47% like some of the other big men's leagues? Probably not, but they got to figure out a way to compromise on this. And I don't think either side has some wiggle room on this.
Okay. Fans Forum chat box is open, looking for somebody, a WNBA fan. Where do you side with this? We go from that. Hockey hotline open for business.
Yeah, we still talk hockey all the time, starting with the Ducks.
Yeah, just a real busy weekend here in the National Hockey League. The Ducks have given their young goaltender who played here with the San Diego Gulls and was really good, Lucas Distal, a 5-year contract that's going to give him about $6 million per season. He's earned it. Distal, 23 wins last season on a bad team, young team, 3.10 goals against average. His growth, they lock him down to a 5-year extension. His growth is what allowed them to finally trade John Gibson away. Vancouver, second story. They had all these goaltenders. They got $12 million a year tied up in goaltenders, which is, I think, a weird way to do business. They traded one of their goaltenders, young backup. His name is Arturs Silovs. He was the guy that backstopped them in the NHL playoffs a year ago, almost got him to the Stanley Cup Finals. He got hurt last year, went back to the minor leagues. Anyhow, they re-signed Thatcher Demko to a massively big contract. They signed the backup to an extension. They could not hold on to Silovs, so they traded him. They got all kinds of trade offers, including Edmonton. Edmonton, which needs a goaltender.
Yeah.
They refused to trade him to Edmonton because Edmonton's in the division.
Right.
They traded him to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So Silovs gets a new lease on life. That kid went back to Abbotsfield in the American Hockey League and, as a netminder, led them to the AHL Calder Cup Championship. They won the ring. He went 30, 12, and 2. His goals against average in the American League this past year, 2.50. So he's going to Pittsburgh to compete for the starting job, but I think it's really odd. Vancouver refused to pick up the phone call when it came from Edmonton. They were not going to trade the goaltender. They had to trade him in the division. And the last one is the Gulls. I don't know how they're going to sort this out. They have 5 goaltenders under contract right now. They just re-signed Scandinavian goaltender Kalle Klang, who's had flashes with the Gulls in which he's played well, but he had significant injury problems. Prior to that, they'd signed Ville Husso, who came from the Detroit Red Wings in a trade with the Ducks. They got him on a 2-year contract. They have another European, Tomas Suchanak, who missed all of last year with a bad knee injury, and he played really well as a young rookie with the Gulls 2 years ago. He's under contract. They got a Russian goaltender who spent the year at Tulsa, Vyacheslav Buchev. He's going to come back. I've never seen a goaltender this big. He's like 6'5.5". He's just monstrously big. And they got a young guy from Europe that they kept over there. His name is Damian Clara. He looks like he's ready to turn pro and come stateside. They got 5 goaltenders, so I'm not sure who's going to make the roster in San Diego, and the one that doesn't make it winds up going back probably to Tulsa, or maybe somebody gets sent over to Europe. So that's the latest hockey hotline.
It's funny that Oilers, I mean, they need a goaltender really bad, but don't you think this whole, I won't trade in my division is kind of dumb?
A little old fashioned. Depends what you extract from Edmonton.
Exactly. I mean, you could fleece, the Edmonton Oilers and really get a sweet deal and push them down in your division if you do it right. Why turn? I mean, it seems like the reason that they won't trade in a division is to protect themselves if the trade goes bad, and if suddenly that goalkeeper is with the Oilers and they win multiple Stanley Cups, the people in Vancouver will be just saying, fire the GM.
It's a syndrome. Yankees don't trade with the Red Sox. The Mets don't trade with the Phillies. Dodgers don't trade with the Padres. It's a divisional thing.
Oh, actually, what's his name? Preller made that deal to get Matt Kemp. Remember that one?
Yeah, but back in the day, and that's when Kemp was on his last legs.
Yeah. But so I think if you have an opportunity to screw over someone in your division, you do it. You don't just turn off the phone.
Stan Bowman, the general manager in Edmonton, who made the pronouncement after they got knocked out of the playoffs again, didn't get to the finals again. There will be changes. He's made a lot of changes. He's lost a lot of his veteran experience. Obviously, he's still got the superstars in Edmonton, but he hadn't done anything with the goaltending. And obviously, he banked a lot, hoping I could get Seeloffs out of Vancouver, who played really well a year and a half ago when the Canucks came out of nowhere and went deep into postseason. But Vancouver said, no, I'm not dealing with the enemy in my own division. I have to face that guy 6 times or 7 times a year. So that's all things hockey. Last topic on the table before we get to Fans Forum. It's been a long show today. We probably upset a lot of people. Go ahead. You want to talk soccer?
Yeah, the high-speed sports wire. Here we go.
I feel real bad about this. San Diego SDFC MLS, they're suddenly getting real thin in terms of talent, have injury problems, and they lost the young goal scorer that they had rented on loan from Denmark. Milan Ilovsky, his contract expired, and he's gone back. He's gone back to the Danish side. To me, they didn't want to pay the price to keep him. Now, maybe the price was exorbitant in terms of a contract extension, because you have to pay the player. Ilovsky scored 10 goals here in a short period of time with SDFC, but you also got to pay the Danish club money to keep him for this year or maybe the next year. They let him go. How you don't pay to keep a red-hot goal scorer at this point when you're still in first place, but you're starting to give ground because of injuries. I was kind of disappointed there. They got injuries, they got goaltending injuries, etc. So that's an item. Second item, Team USA. I guess they don't listen to this podcast because I thought some of those guys, the former Team USA stars, the Lawlesses, Landon Donovans, Dempseys, Tim Howard, I thought they owed Coach Pochettino an apology for the way they banged on him going through the Gold Cup. And then Team USA won 4 in a row and got to the finals, almost beat Mexico. Clint Dempsey goes public over this weekend. They got 9 friendlies coming up between now and the World Cup. You better win all 9. So Dempsey's issuing his public challenge of so Dempsey does not believe what Pochettino did with a young side without Pulisic and all those guys. So that's interesting. The critique has not gone away. Liverpool, English Premier League's opened their camp. They're kind of in the course of mourning because of the terrible auto accident that killed one of their goal scoring stars, Jota, in Spain a couple weeks ago. Liverpool's negotiating, and I don't understand this deal, it's a $93 million purchase to get a goal scorer from Newcastle United, which is in the league, Alex Isak. This guy scored 32 goals this past season. Newcastle is going to sell their leading goal scorer to the enemy, Liverpool, in the league, even though they get $93 million. That's
a lot of bank.
That's a lot of bank. It's kind of weird. You tell me this, AC Milan. Are they going to allow this to happen? You're Christian Pulisic. There is conversation between AC Milan and Al Nassr in the Saudi Arabian League to sell Pulisic's contract to let him go to play with Cristiano Ronaldo and Sadio Mane, the 2 stars at Al Nassr. If you're Christian Pulisic, would you take blood money? Would you go to Saudi Arabia? But that's what's out there right now. Pulisic has been very quiet, has not said anything, but AC Milan's talking about a potential negotiation deal there. And the last topic is F1. I went and saw the movie.
Oh, you did?
Formula One.
Cool.
Brad Pitt movie. The cinematography is unbelievable. It takes your breath away as if you're sitting in the car with Brad Pitt during an F1 race. And actually, what they did at the English Grand Prix at Silverstone, they had 2 cars that started in the back of the pack, loaded with all the cameras, as if they were racing in the British Grand Prix. The race started, and you see Brad Pitt and his teammate in the car next to him actually driving, trying to chase all those guys on the grid.
Oh, wow.
They got live action footage.
Interesting.
It was really interesting. They did something really different, a little bit controversial. They went back into the archives of Formula One film, and they used video of two horrific crashes, fiery death and another bad crash. And they used those videos to portray what happened to a young Brad Pitt, his rookie year in F1. Bad crash, driver got ejected from the car, was laying on the pavement as cars were going by. That was supposed to be Brad Pitt. They used that actual video. And another really bad crash in which the car went over the guardrail, blew up. Driver was trapped. They used that to portray his teammate getting trapped before they rescued him out of the fiery car. So, I mean, it's 2 hours and 33 minutes of action. The storyline was thin. I was kind of disappointed in the storyline. And again, I'm a sports movie goer, so I see the action and I see the footage, but it wasn't a lot of depth about Brad Pitt, the driver who nearly died as a rookie and now has come back 12 years later, etc. The storyline was weak as compared to Tom Cruise Days of Thunder, NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or there's another Formula One movie that's been out. It's called Rush. It's about Niki Lauda and James Hunt and their rivalry in the 70s that led to a tragic crash and fire that almost ended Niki Lauda's life and career. Those storylines had great depth as to the background. This one was a little bit thin, but the action was cool. If you like auto racing, sit there. I guarantee you, I came out of that movie, my head was just boom, boom, because you're sitting there watching his drivers and you feel like you're in the cockpit of the car and it's crashing and spinning. And so I'd give it a letter grade of probably B to a B minus, only because the storyline was thin. But boy, the actual action footage was shocking to see. And I knew going in that they had gotten permission to use video of really bad crashes to portray what happened to Pitt, what happened to his teammates. So it's good. Go see it. If you like auto racing, it's worth a venture. Movie theater was freaking packed. It was just
really,
it was amazing. Okay.
So I mean, last I checked, I think it's on Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus. So I got to check that out because we have a subscription to that. It sounds interesting. It's Brad Pitt. It's kind of sexy, fast cars, all that. The part that I found interesting is how they had, they were filming the movie during an actual F1 race at Silverstone. But this is such a marketing vehicle for F1.
Oh, yeah.
And like my wife and my son have been watching a lot of, there's like a series on Netflix.
Yes.
For about F1 racing. I haven't watched it yet, but
they triggered last year. It was phenomenal, the response it got on Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. And so it gets fans kind of connected with the sport. And what a great thing here in America as we kind of ramp up our knowledge of F1. Yeah. But going back to the San Diego FC, I watched the game against the Whitecaps, Vancouver. That's a good squad they were facing, and it is tough. They weren't able to keep Iloski, excuse me, he's a local guy and all of that. But what I find it interesting is the roster. The way you can loan a player or borrow a player is interesting. And then they didn't have their regular keeper in there. That was a normal guy, is Dos Santos,
and he's been hurt.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. So I was trying to kind of put 2 and 2 together there, but that was a great match. And, and they looked like they had a pretty good crowd at Snapdragon.
Well, you have 29,000. They've been in the 29 to 32,000 virtually the whole year, which drives my point. You got this young kid who came, he's from Escondido.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he scores 10 goals at this level. Now, when you work the deal to get him on loan from the Danish club, it was for a certain window of time. So the kid came here and proved he could play. So I guess the price tag to rent him for the rest of the year or on a multi-year deal went up. But geez, you're making enormous amounts of money here. Why would you not invest on this kid who has now proven himself to keep him?
Yeah, they're making more money there, but I can't imagine they're making more money than what's going on in the league that he was performing in. Wasn't he like in the Netherlands or a league like that? But, when he was at SDFC, he not only scored 10 goals, he scored 4 goals in one game. And it was in like a span of like 10 or 12 minutes. I mean, the guy has the magic touch. Yeah, it's a shame they can't keep him.
Yeah, a little bit disappointed at that. Okay, that's all things off the High Speed Sports Wire. This podcast is brought to you by Dixie Line Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you. Just a reminder, Fans Forum chat box is open. We do a lot of things on this program, but we let the fans get involved, and you get now the chance to co-host with us. We want you to give us a thumbs up. We want you to give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us a great deal with the growth of this podcast. John, I'm ready for questions and topics. You better be prepared. You might get broadsided a few here today, too. Here we go. Fans Forum, where do you want to start?
Okay, we always got to talk Dodgers, and we'll go here to Casey. Hey, good afternoon, guys. Hey, with Freddie Freeman being day-to-day right now and Muncy still out, do you see my Dodgers adding a bat and also a possible reliever for the pen and add both at the trade deadline?
Casey, we just talked about that in our segment. The one thing that the Dodgers have that the Padres don't. Dodgers got enormous depth of pitching. They could trade from AAA Oklahoma City. Now, if you're going to trade Bobby Miller or trade Emmett Sheehan, who's up right now, has pitched okay. If you're going to trade Robleski, the left-hander, who's pitched up here a couple of times and pitched okay. Or if you're going to trade anybody in the lower minors, and they got a load of AA players, outfielders notably, they got depth, whereas the Padres don't. So, yeah, I think item one is make a deal for a closer, because that's become very untrustworthy right now. Clase is available out of Cleveland. There are a couple other relievers available, but you're going to have to give up something as significant. I mean, you may have to give up Bobby Miller for Clase, who's a walk free agent, I think, at the end of the season, but you're going to have to give up something. So that, in terms of third base, Arenado is awful costly. He's got $24 million more on next year's contract in addition to the about $12 million that he's owed this year. So, how much more money can they take? Because they are so high right now on the luxury tax. It's ridiculous. The number I was told over the weekend, their total payroll and tax number is $408 million. They owe $151 million to Major League Baseball on tax already. If you bring on Arenado, that goes on top of what they already owe. So it's real significant. I think there's at least one significant Dodger deal coming. Your turn.
They got Tommy Edman was playing some third base.
He's hurt. He's in and out of the lineup, and he's hurt, and he's not playing very well.
That guy is so versatile, though.
Exactly.
I mean, you can put him anywhere.
And that's another one of the name that's not playing well. He's got a toe injury that just is not going away. So you got Freddie, who's not playing well and hurt. Edman is beat up. Mookie has stopped hitting. They think he's lost his bat speed. There is no Muncy. And Ohtani's hitting a $189. Since June 1st or July 1st. So, I mean, they got a bunch of problems.
I mean, you could make a deal here or a deal there, get an arm for the bullpen. But if Mookie and Freddie and Shohei Ohtani are not playing normal, those top 3 guys in that batting order, that's a whole different team.
Yep.
I mean, it seems like Ohtani, you're probably saying, distracted by some of the pitching, working his way back. I sort of understand that. Freddie with the unfortunate hit by pitch, I get that. But the Mookie thing is weird. I mean, because when was that illness that he lost all that
training?
weight?
He went to Japan. He couldn't play. He lost 20 pounds.
So he probably has never recovered from that, right?
Well, they say he's recovered in terms of putting the weight back, but his bat speed has gone away. I want to say he had about 2.5 weeks where Mookie looked like Mookie, and then he stopped hitting again. And now, I mean, they've done investigative stuff that I've read that his bat speed has just totally gone away. And bat speed is normally, that's a sure sign of age. And he's not 35 years of age, or you think, well, he's got a back problem and his bat speed's gone. But boy, he's not making contact at all.
Yeah. I mean, so they got it was kind of like the Padres. They need their stars to be stars.
Yep.
And they're not performing at that level. But the Dodgers, they always make a deal at the deadline, and they always get the
Max Scherzers of the world, the Jack Flaherty's of the world.
And they end up not giving away their A-list prospects. Something like that's going to happen again. It's just Dodgers.
And they do have a lot of A-list prospects.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Okay, Casey, thanks for being with us. Hope you tell a friend. Join us again. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to the practicing guitarist. Hey, is Manny Machado truly a leader that can lead when it matters? He's a career .215 hitter in the postseason, and he hit .190 in the 2024 NLDS. And why does the local media not hold him accountable?
Well, the only local media is really the San Diego Union Tribune, and everything that they write. And Manny's had a really good season, but everything they write's a little overbearing. To me, it's a little too much of this all the time. I mean, when he had that bad stretch, there just was not a lot written about why are you hitting 190. But he's had, in the big picture, he's rock solid. And I like him because he's a baller. He plays all the time. You can't get him out of the lineup. But there is a media love affair between the UT and some of their stars. I mean, nobody's made a big thing about how horrible Tatis was for a long chunk of this season. So, the media's got a responsibility to ask some hardball questions here, and I don't see it from the UT very often. Sports talk radio's that's a whole different enchilada. The Padre flagship station, they've been told you can't say anything negative about the team, which means you blew your credibility with me. You have to ask the hard questions. Not that you beat up the player. It's a hard game, but you have to ask some of the hard questions. So that's where we are. That's my perception of Padres media. And John Riley says
Machado's a leader. I mean, he's grown up. I mean,
he's different.
He's different, but he's not a typical kind of a leader. You need other kinds of guys there that also have leadership capabilities.
He's not a firebrand.
Well, yeah, and he does have, sometimes there's a little cloud over Machado. I mean, that's why Joe Musgrove is so important to have there with the team, and it's great that he's still traveling with the team.
Stand-up guy.
Totally. So I think when you have Machado as one of the Mount Rushmore guys on the team, then it works. But if Machado is expected to be, the captain like Derek Jeter, I mean, I don't see that working.
I don't think he's a flag carrier.
No, he's not. He's a different kind. He leads by example. He's just kind of has his own way about it. But, it's interesting you talk about how the UT, is maybe not as hard hitting. But, that's Kevin Acee, the writer there. And I remember Kevin used to get a lot of criticism when he was the beat writer for the Chargers, that he wasn't too heavy with his criticism. Do you think maybe this is his style of writing, not to be excessively critical, or is he trying to maintain good relationships?
What's different is the Union Tribune has really downsized everything. What the difference is, you have a beat writer that's there doing nuts and bolts. Kevin writes a ton. I've never seen a guy that writes as much as he writes, and credit to him to be creative and resourceful, to do a lot of different angles to stories. But it's not necessarily his place just to stand in somebody's face every time and ask the pointed question. But with the UT, they don't have and have not had it for a while. You need a hard-ass columnist that's going to write pointed, opinionated things, and they don't have any of that, rather than cheerleaders. Now, columnists don't have to be hard asses all the time. You can write great stuff, creative stuff, fun-loving stuff, complimentary stuff, but you got to stand there sometimes and ask them real hardball questions. They don't have that because they don't have the staff anymore, because they've downsized everything, and every freaking newspaper in the world has absolutely done the same thing. So I don't know where the print journalism is going. If the guys that cover the UT, they all do a really good job, but Kevin has a style and he has a volume of responsibility because he writes just a ton. And Jeff Sanders predominantly does a lot of the minor league stuff, and I think he does a really fine job. AJ Casabell covers the Padres for MLB.com, but I think there's restrictions in terms of how deep he can go with opinions, etc. I don't see any of that coming from him. The unique one is Dennis Lin, who writes for The Athletic, used to work for the UT. I think he does a real good job at digging, and he will write some pointed stuff along the way. But I don't know how many people in San Diego subscribe to the Athletic website, but they got guys on every major league team and every major sport that write a lot more long, in-depth stuff, and they don't have to worry about the damn deadlines, etc. So just a different era. I just think that there's got to be somebody on your staff that's going to ask the really pointed questions, like talk show radio. You don't all have to be cheerleaders. Sometimes you can have a guy that's going to stand up and say, AJ, this is what you did, and I'm holding you accountable for what you did. Or ownership, this is what you have not done. I'm holding you accountable for what you're not. And you say it and you talk about it. It's not an attack. It's just a statement of truth, reality. Okay, I'm done with my sermon, but if I were king, that's what I would want.
We got to get in there and do the live stream from the Padre clubhouse, man. Can you imagine? That'd be fun. I'll give credit, like Ben and Woods, they'll go out to spring training and talk to the guys. But again, that's,
it's all sing-song.
A little bit, yeah. But, there's other reporters, like Marty Caswell does a great job getting that video footage in the clubhouse. Good on her. And then, we lost our guy, Scott Miller, who would do articles in the UT. And then there's the other guy, Tom, what's his name? Krasovic.
He's kind of he's become their columnist. He's all over the place doing an awful lot. But the UT has just changed. I'm disappointed because UT does virtually nothing about the NFL. Should have an NFL strong-willed guy who covers storylines, even though we don't have a franchise. Do nothing in the NBA, do nothing really on hockey. They ignore the goals. They've gone crazy. This bothers me. They've turned the UT into Soccer America. Column after column after story and column inches on SDFC and on San Diego Wave, to the point they're ignoring a whole bunch of other really important things just so they cover local soccer. It should not be Soccer America. No problem with the game stories and features, but it's just constant.
Well, they're latching on to that. They probably figure, hey, this is one category where we can be dominant. I mean, that's what I'm guessing.
How important is it?
But is Nick Canepa still writing for them?
Once a week. He's in retirement and he writes once a week. And what they've done is they laid off a whole bunch of guys and they brought them back just as freelancers. Bill Center writes auto racing and horse racing. I think he's a really complete guy, but he's not a beat guy any longer. And Donnie Norcross does high school stuff, and John Maffey does a phenomenal job in high school for kind of a 1.5-man gang covering high school sports for the UT. But the paper's just kind of gone in a different direction.
Now, I want to ask you, as a sports journalist, what sports or which communication medium do you enjoy the most? Is it 690 Talk Radio? Is it television like you do for KUSI? Is it this podcast? Is it the writing you do on your website? Is it the social media stuff you do? What's the best for you?
I love sitting and researching storylines and networking with people in other markets. I do that all day, every day. And I have a email list of guys in other places I'll send stuff to and ask questions, and they'll send me stuff back that they've written, et cetera, because a lot of stuff is now behind paywalls, and I can't pay for everything. So I swap out information on the Pac-12 or on other NFL teams or stuff, hockey friends and things of that nature. So I enjoy gathering information, which is why, the practicing the guitarist is a long answer to your question, but that is why we cover a lot of diverse things, different topics on the table, because I'm interested in different topics on the table. And I'm sure John Q. Fan is interested in a whole bunch of different things. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I mean, you're like a curator, but you're also a content creator. You got a lot going on. Here's a similar question, a little bit of a tangent. And this is from Callan. He goes, hey, afternoon, gents. Let's say you were starting a new San Diego SoCal sports talk station. Give me your on-air lineup. Who's going to get the call to join your team?
Hacksaw, Coach Quintera, Scott Kaplan. That'd be a start. Obviously, to have some network connections. If I could reinvent something like 690, 1090 with some of the people, maybe you can. But the problem is just the economics of launching something new in a market and where the advertising community has cratered. It's just not the same advertising market. Understand, if you're doing round-the-clock sports talk radio with name personalities, with proven commodities, that's a big investment in talent. And this format is very talent intensive if you're going to do it right. That's why when you go through the roster of sports talk stations that are now operating, very few local shows, awful lot of syndication, and a whole pile of young board ops that have been given a chance to be on the air that are, quote, fillers. So it's a different era. But there's a bunch of us out there that thought, hey, maybe we could still work and still have a chance to do it, and we're still pretty good. And there's an awful lot of credibility walking through the front door, but you got to have ownership with deep pockets. And again, the advertising marketplace is so different now, and it's dropped so badly. It's really hard to finance it. I found out that some of the layoffs at some of the TV stations, some of the sports guys I knew are gone just because they got wiped out as they were cutting back on news personnel and sports personnel, et cetera. So it's just a very different era in the medium.
Yeah. I still think, though, there is an opportunity. If we had, let's just say we had unlimited time and some extra resources, not a whole lot of extra resources. There's so much quality sports talk talent that's just out there, that aren't working, that we could build like a network, but just do it all online. This is where all the listening is going. This is where all the podcasting, the video. There's, I think, a business model for that.
Well, there's a business model. Some people have said you ought to be on every day. And somebody had proposed to me, do something called Hacksaw at High Noon. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but that means I'm working every day of the week, say Monday through Friday, doing sports on live stream for what, 2 hours a day? That means all this time on research. That means all this time producing, maybe to go get guests or however you structure the podcast. And how am I getting paid?
But see, this is the deal. You and I have had this discussion, sort of off the air, but the financial model is different. I mean, we're fortunate that we have Dixie Line as a sponsor, but it's not like a podcast is going to have a lot of big marquee names backing them. The way you have to do it is have to make it crowdfunded, and that's the beauty of what we do here on YouTube with YouTube Super Chat. People can throw money and ask questions and attach a dollar bill to it. And there's other things that we can do. And I think we need to explore it. We're just so damn busy creating content. But you already do the research. As you said, you're working with your contacts around America. You're already doing this research 24/7 every day of the week. Is that you live it?
I do too. But to do 2 hours live every day on top of all the research and to have no money coming in the door.
No, we have to figure out a way to get, to make it worth your while.
You got deep pockets. You live in a castle here on a hill. So, I mean, you just hire me. And I mean, there are concepts out there because I've talked to Scott Kaplan, who I'm friends with. I talked to Coach Quintera. I said, what do you think about trying something like that? But it always comes back to, you're going to pour your guts into this and do it the way you want to do it or the way you're used to do it. But where's the revenue coming from?
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing is the model's different.
Yeah.
The model's different. You can't, it's not like radio where you're going to get like some auto dealership and, a bunch of traditional advertising media like that. It has to be from multiple, like you have to have like 5 to 8 different revenue streams.
We should probably do an experiment. Maybe we'll do a special Friday show in which the Insiders Group fans can participate in a special Friday podcast for a fixed subscription fee. Maybe, and we'll just see if that works.
That's one of many different options to generate revenue. Yeah, but you got to do it through we have to sell merch. We'd have to do a lot of different things. We're making a little bit of money on the YouTube viewership, but there is a way. There is a way. You may not be the king of the world like you used to be in the 1990s, especially doing the play-by-play, but I think we can make it worth your while.
Callum just touched a nerve. So Callum, we will give you our private phone numbers so you can call our wives because you will have to sales pitch them that you're stealing us so we could do sports talk podcast every day of the week. Holy cow. Would there be a reaction to that? In my house, in your house.
Well, look at this. I mean, here's just a bunch of quick comments on what we were just discussing. Jim T 690 was great. ESPN Radio hogs the airwaves. Hey, great question. Great answer. Absolutely, John. It can be done. According to one Mr. Smith, got to build a following first. And yeah, I mean, we already have over 8,000 subscribers on YouTube and that's growing.
Okay.
There's a way to do it.
You hit a nerve here. I don't need more work, and I'm working so much right now.
You do work.
Okay. Hey, thank you for the input. John, let's run through a few more here before we run out of time.
Okay. Before we run out of time, and there was a lot of conversation here about the whole Trump thing. So let's see if we can get some of that in here.
Do we have to?
Yeah. Do we have to? Well, there's a number of different comments from different angles. Here's John, and he says, hey, while I get that you don't like Trump, he's kind of preaching to the choir in D.C. 99% of Washington fans want their team to return to their old nickname.
I concur. And, the decision that was made, and it infuriated Cleveland Indian fan when they became the Cleveland Guardians. And I don't know any of my friends in Cleveland that refer to them as the Guardians or have bought any Guardians gear. I still got friends, and I still have my Chief Wahoo t-shirt. I just didn't understand nor accept quote politically correct. We got to get rid of Chief Wahoo. We got to get rid of the historic Redskins logo, etc. Now, I understood there were some schools, some universities who had logos. Syracuse was one, and they got rid of the Indian because it looked like it was a drunk Indian as their logo, and they made, they got Mr. Orange, and that became their name, and they won in basketball, etc. But there were some logos that had to be addressed because they didn't look correct and were not politically correct. But now it's different. And so I don't have an answer for it. I wish it was still the Redskins. I surely wish it was the Cleveland Indians. Hell, I'm going to wear my Chief Wahoo shirt one day. You'll get a kick out of that. But politically correct at that point kind of carried the day during the Obama era. I have a problem with the White House. I have a problem with everything that's being done because it's unconstitutional. I think it's unethical, and you got enough problems you've created over at the White House. You don't need to be putting your 2 cents in as it relates to the nickname of the Washington NFL franchise.
Okay, well, here's a couple more comments on this. This is from Joe. He says, hey, the government had nothing to do with the Commanders' name. It was a business decision.
Sure, it was a politically correct decision.
Yeah.
In Cleveland, the undercurrent of the rumor was that the Dolan family was told, if you change the name, we will award you an all-star game. And they did. And they announced Cleveland Guardians. And there's a historical background why the Guardians. But like I say, fans never accepted it. And to this day, they still don't accept it. So
it's just interesting because I know obviously the Redskins name goes way back.
Sure.
They've won multiple Super Bowls as the Redskins.
The Redskins are the Boston Redskins that moved in 1936 to Washington.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was a Boston Redskins.
The problem is they were owned by George Marshall, who was a racist.
Oh, interesting.
There's a little linkage there too.
Oh, maybe that had something to do with the original name too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, yeah, it seemed like there was public pressure from certain groups in America,
politically correct,
not necessarily Washington fans, that felt the name should be changed. And I always kind of thought if you were going to change any name, that's the one to change. But I worry, like if this politically correct thing goes further and further with this, who's next? The Braves, the Chiefs, the Padres, and the Aztecs have got to be looking over their shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
That man on Pennsylvania Avenue, he's got bigger problems than the Washington Redskins nickname. He's got Epstein and he's got all this other history of stuff.
Yeah, but the whole thing, the whole reason Trump's bringing this up is not because he really cares about the football team.
Distraction.
It's creating a distraction.
This bleeping distraction is not going away.
Yeah, well, yeah. And he's always pushing buttons and he just tries to get everybody fired up and it's just his shtick. Flood the zone, man.
And I do that, and I get so much heat. It's unbelievable. Okay, we move on. Thank you for the input.
Here's one last comment on this, and it says, keep the government out of sports. That statement is hypocritical.
The whole thing is hypocrisy involving that person.
Well, it is interesting how so much American culture and American values are blended into sports. You got the national anthem, you got the flyovers, you got the American flag covering the whole outfield.
But that's Americanism at its best.
Yeah, but the point, I guess, and I agree with the one Mr. Smith here, is that there is already a lot of political linkage and either government influence, but not necessarily government mandates. Trump is not mandating it. He's just applying pressure, right?
Oh, he'll probably write a freaking executive order, which will be unconstitutional like all the other executive orders he's written. Well,
Okay.
I mean, the fact he threatened them, we're going to block all the federal funding for the new football stadium that the District of Columbia has already kind of worked through with the ownership.
Freaking Trump. He's still angry at the NFL for not letting him be an owner.
Can you understand why?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go here to Showtime LA. He goes, hey, I think the Dodgers need to turn a corner outfielder to replace Conforto and a reliever. Could Clase and Duran actually be traded? Hey, thanks, Hacksaw. You were one of the good ones.
Duran would, I have not thought about Duran. He would be a good acquisition. The problem is Conforto's got, I think it's a 4-year contract. They signed him to, I think it's $17 million a season. And I never thought he was worth $17 million a year to begin with, the ex-Giant, ex-Yankee, but they're kind of on the hook for that. And I don't think he's real tradable right now. But they do have resources to go get Clase out of Cleveland. They got resources if they wanted to get Duran from Boston. That's the thing is the Dodgers, if you do a hot list of Dodger prospects, I swear to you, they probably got 7 or 8 that are a AAA or AA that are putting up really legitimate numbers and are viewed as legitimate Major League prospects. So they've got resources to make the right transaction right now. They just have to decide which closer, what price, and then is there somebody else they want to go get?
Yeah, I mean, they have more minor league assets that are tradable than most MLB teams.
They don't make mistakes in the draft.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's interesting, though. You still see a lot of Dodgers kind of scattered about, and some
what they do is they have this massive numbers of prospects. And you alluded to earlier in the podcast, and rightfully so. They've never traded away a stud. Now, they've traded away prospect names, but the prospect names have gone somewhere else and haven't panned out. Mike Bush was with the Cubs, power hitting first baseman. He's done pretty well, but that's the kind of guy they traded. But there was no room for him. He was stuck behind Freddie Freeman, and they had Dalton Rushing that they could convert to first base. So they used Bush in a trade with the Chicago Cubs. But those are the kind of guys that they've moved other places, and have they panned out? Cody Bellinger's having a really good season with the Yankees, but prior to that with the Cubs, he had 2 crappy seasons.
Yeah, well, Bellinger was always up and down. I think the Dodgers realized they couldn't count on him. And Gavin Lux is another guy.
Yeah, he's had spurts. He's played well in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I think he's out in left field now. So it seems like, when Dodger management figures out that this player isn't exactly what we want, then that's when they trade him.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on. A couple more here.
Okay, and let's go here to Aztec Mike. Oh, he got something good to say. He goes, hey, I've been a Aztec season ticket holder for 35 years, and they are 50-plus year season ticket holders, and you say no fan? How about no media? I didn't see you at the Mountain West Media Days. This is a bandwagon town, and Bud Black years for the Padres drew only 5,000 fans.
Well, in terms of, I'm not going to Las Vegas Media Days because I'd have to pay all the money myself. Why would I do that? What I want is access on a day-by-day basis with San Diego State. And it's great you're a 35-year alum that supports the program. But there's nobody in the community excited about Aztec football right now. And there is no alumni support. Yes, are there Aztecs for life who still come? There sure are. In massive numbers, no. San Diego State's alumni people, and I know them, they come in, well, we have 150,000 alums. I said, well, they're not coming to football games. They're not supporting. And the shocker, you can buy, get this, John, you can buy a season ticket for Aztec football on the upper deck at Snapdragon for $200 a ticket. For the whole season, $200, and you make one small contribution to the Aztec Club. You have to pay a little fee on the side as a way to support the program for $200. So if you and the wife, so it's $400 for a whole football season to see 6 or 7 home games. Aztec for Life already been doing that. No, granted, the 50-yard line seat is ridiculously priced. So, Mike, I'm not denouncing you because you're an alum. Hell, I'm an alum. Ohio University. I give them all kinds of money to the athletic program, and I haven't been there in 40 years, except to visit. So there's nothing wrong with those who are supporting. There's just not enough. And when you're telling me there's 150,000 alums in San Diego County, where the hell are they? They're not supporting the program. Football program desperately needs fans in the stands. And at $200 a ticket for a whole season? God, that's cheap.
It is, and Aztec Mike, by the way, this dude bleeds black and red.
That's great.
He's hardcore. He was, sending me direct messages. Hey, you going to the Mountain West Media Days? And I was thinking, man, it'd be cool to go to that. I know you guys.
I've been there.
Yeah, you've been to these things, and the Super Bowl Media Days, all these things for journalism. But it doesn't seem like the Aztecs are welcoming the media.
They're not creative enough. I think they've done just a really poor job. I think they've let the football program down. Do you see any energy in this community about Aztec football? And look at this. We just had the stats. What was the record? 106-48 under Rocky and Brady. A lot of energy, a lot of anticipation, proven commodity. What do we have right now? 3-9 and 2 years of roster turnover that is just absolutely stunning.
So here's a question for you. If our podcast had 1,000 subscribers paying $10 a month for the content, would you go out to Vegas for media days?
Maybe,
that's $10,000 a month.
I go a lot of places. I cover stuff on my own. I'm not getting paid to do it, but I go to press conferences. I go to Padres stuff. I've gone to Aztec stuff. I've gone USD stuff. Now, obviously, there's no NFL here to cover any longer, but I'm in the community a lot doing stuff just on my own for my own website and obviously a little bit of this podcast.
Sometimes I like to listen to, the Go Aztecs YouTube channel, and they'll be doing the post-game presser or, some of the previews. And you'll hear your voice in the back of the room because the camera's always focused on Lewis or on Dutcher, but I'll hear you in the back. And it's fantastic that you are still involved.
30-second short story here before I wrap this up. So the first time I met him, before we were scheduling, it might have been the first podcast we were going to do. This goes back a group of years. This is the Matt Ariza crisis at San Diego State.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I had gone to a press conference that day with Brady Hoke and John David Wicker. And that's when the Matt Ariza thing had surfaced. And then it became the burning question, what did you know? When did you know it? Because there's all types of insinuations of a cover-up at SDSU, and I would have never, ever believed that. But that was the press conference. And I swear to you, this is the defining moment that I think has changed everything with football. That was a press conference where John David Wicker and Brady Hoke got up and walked out because they did not want to answer any more questions about the Ariza situation. And they stormed out of the press conference. I was stunned. Anyhow, they came back eventually, half hour later, and sat and answered a few more questions. And I could only talk about certain things. And I understood that. But I came back here because I went right from the press conference to back here. And I might have been the first podcast we ever did.
It was early on, for sure.
Second one. I said, I walked in to the castle here. I said, John, you're not going to believe the press conference I just came from. I've never seen anything like these guys walked out. And to me, that was the beginning of the end of Aztec football. I don't think they've been the same football program since that point in time. And then, of course, the Ariza thing got settled and it was messy and all those players left school. And then Brady obviously lost quarterbacks. And then the world changed with the NIL and the transfer portal. And Brady stepped back and obviously resigned, retired, got fired. And then Sean Lewis came in, and it's been a real bumpy road since that point. But I don't think San Diego State has been the same since that Ariza press conference.
Well, that's correlation versus causation, right? Yeah.
Speak English.
The Matt Ariza incident was obviously awful for the community and for the reputation of the program, but that's not the reason that the season ticket bases declined at Snapdragon Stadium. It just so happened to be along the timeline when we had all the other things going on in the world: NIL, transfer portal, COVID, playing up in LA in the South Bay there for a while.
4-8 football season, then a 3-9 football season.
So the reason that the season ticket base is peeled away is primarily the quality of the product on the field, to a second degree, a little bit of the pricing. Yep. But still, the pricing, like you said, it's not that expensive.
You want to sit in the upper deck, $200 per ticket for a whole season.
Yeah.
And it's your school. Freaking support it. I'm not beating up Aztec Mike, but where are all these people that are chanting Aztec for life? Support the damn program through thick and thin. It's going to come back. That coach has got a good track record and reputation. But I'll tell you, they can't survive with 10,000 people showing up for home football games. That's like Division III football.
Yeah. Well, there is a social media comment that I want to get here because it's kind of a tangent.
Mike, thanks for being with us, man. Stay with us.
Mike's a great guy. So let's see if we can let me see if I can find that particular message. And it was over here, and it was about the Mountain West and about the Pac-12. And here it is. And it's from Surf City Bill. And he says, hey, the poaching fee was a clause the Mountain West imposed on a desperate Oregon State and Washington State when they needed a scheduling agreement for 2024. The Mountain West also charged a combined $14 million for those Oregon State and Washington State games. The Mountain West says a contract is a contract, but can also be argued Oregon State and Washington State signed the agreement under duress.
Concur on both sides, and that's why they had mediation, and why the mediation fell apart and hit a wall, and now it's going back into lawsuit mode. Maybe there'll still be an out-of-court settlement. But when the San Diego States and the Boise's, Surf City, agreed, we'll pay an $18 million exit fee, each of them did, that should have taken care of it. And then for the Mountain West to tack on and bill the Pac-12, $10 million per poaching fee every time you take somebody, and they wound up being 5 schools that left. So it's really messy. It's a bitter divorce. At the end of the day, they're both crippled. I'm sorry. The new Pac-12 looks like Mountain West 2. And I'll tell you, the Mountain West with what's left behind, I feel bad for my friends at Wyoming. My goodness. I mean, this is like a freaking 1AA conference now. I mean, if you're trying to sales pitch me the Grand Canyon and UC Davis coming in the door is going to make a big difference in the roadmap? No, I don't think so. So, I mean, they've both taken a bullet here. So,
well, the Pac-12 is still an upgrade for the Aztecs, an upgrade for Boise State.
To what?
I mean, well, number one, the money's more. I mean, the contract for the TV money is more than what they were getting in the Mountain West.
Bump up, but it's
not.
not.
But still, that's something. and you have a couple of the leftovers from the Pac-12, and you're distancing yourself from some of the, let's say, less sexy names in the Mountain West. So I think overall it's good for San Diego State. You'd love it to be the old Pac-12, but that was never going to happen. But it is interesting because this whole story is complicated with all these lawsuits. And I was originally thinking, because they were taking a second bite of the apple, remember, where they had the
exit fee,
and then there was the poaching fee. But now, Surf City's saying those were two separate agreements, and both of those contracts should be enforced. So I can buy on that.
But the Pac-12 office is of the opinion that's an antitrust exemption. You're trying to stop us from doing business.
Yeah, what a mess.
It is. It really is. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. Man, we went all over the place, but that's what we do. We put topics on the table because we do sports talk the way it should be done. I hope you'll tell your friends what we do Mondays and Thursdays. God, John's going to try to convince me to do Hacksaw at high noon every day of the week. I'm going to wind up in divorce court before this thing is over. But listen, we're glad you're here. We hope you tell your friends. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us a great deal. We'll be back here Thursday. We're marching towards the trading deadline. That's going to be the next big topic on the table. And, of course, we'll have a lot of news and notes from the NFL training camps. Podcast brought to you by Dixie Line Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you. Just go to DixieLine.com to find out what they have to offer. How dare you bring up this sports podcast 5 days a week? You're going to get me in more trouble than I'm already in.
Well, I don't know. 5 days a week that's a big ask, but I think there's a lot of different things that we could do, assuming we had unlimited time, and time is short.
We will put our thinking cap on. Hey, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you come Thursday at 1:30 Pacific time on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.